This section of Chapter 1 will discuss filing status and tax computation on pages 110 and 111. The first thing you need to determine when you have the taxpayer in front of you, once you've determined whether or not they have to file, is what is going to be their filing status. Okay? Sometimes it's very obvious. They come in, you have a couple, they are legally married, all right, and they tell you they want to file married filing a joint return. Okay, again, the couple can either be opposite sex or same sex, it does not matter. Okay, but and if they choose to file a joint return, that's the way you would mark it on the return. Okay, so let's take a look at the 5 statuses that you see on page 110 and 111. The first filing status is single. All right, now generally a single person is somebody who is unmarried. Okay, and it's real obvious that they're going to file as a single person. Okay, but you can be married, okay, and still file single. The only situation where this would be true is if you are legally married, but you have filed a decree of separation, and you are both legally and physically separated from your spouse. Okay, that would be the only situation where you could be married and still file single. Okay, the next status is married filing a joint return. Okay, again, it does not matter if it's opposite sex or same sex. All right, if you are legally married as of December 31st, 2017, you can file married filing a joint return. All right. By the way, your filing status is as of December 31st. So if you are married on December 31st, you are married for the whole year. If you are divorced on December 31st, you are divorced for the whole year. Okay? All right. So, and again, I get couples a lot of times that go, would we be better off filing separately or jointly? Well, the next filing status is married filing separately. Married filing separately is probably the worst way to file for most people. Okay, married filing separate, first of all, the standard deduction is that of a single person. Okay, and unless you itemize, all right, you're just hurting yourself by filing separately. Now, one of the good things, though, about filing separately is that you are not legally responsible for your spouse's tax return information. So if you file separately, all right, it's your information and your information only. Your spouse's information, other than their name and their social security number, is not on the tax return. Okay, but again, I caution you, married filing separate, you can lose a lot of credits, all right, which we'll talk about in Chapter 6. The biggest one is the earned income credit. So you cannot file separately and still get the earned income credit, commonly known as the EIC. The fourth filing status is head of household. All right, now to file head of household, generally you have to be unmarried, you must have a dependent child, and you must have paid more than half the cost of keeping up the home for you and that dependent child. The cost of the home is defined by either you pay the rent or the mortgage, and you pay the utilities, and you pay the food for yourself and your dependent child. Okay. The fifth filing status on page 111 is called qualifying widower with dependent child. All right. If you were married during the year and your spouse died during 2017, okay, then you would file married filing joint with your deceased spouse for 2017. And then for the next 2 years, 2018 and 2019, you file qualifying widow or widower, assuming you still have a dependent child and assuming you have not remarried. All right, after 2 years, then you would either file single or head of household, depending upon the situation. Okay, so what I would like to do is I would like to allude to the real-life tax situation that I gave you in the introduction. Now, if you've had a chance to look at the answers that I presented to you, or I will present to you when I grade the introduction, you may be surprised to see that Tom's filing status is single, all right, and not head of household. Okay, in order to file head of household, you either have to have a dependent child or you must have a qualifying relative, which I will talk about in my next video. All right, Mary doesn't qualify Tom because she's not biologically related to Tom. All right, and Mary doesn't qualify Tom as a qualifying relative because her gross income exceeds the exemption amount. And we'll talk about that in the dependency area. All right. Mary's children do not qualify Tom for head of household status because they are her qualifying children. And a child can only be a qualifying child of one person, all right, not two. Unless, of course, you're married filing a joint return, and then it doesn't matter. Okay? All right, so Mary is the parent, Tom is not. Mary's filing status is single. All right? Okay, Tom pays all the costs of keeping up the home, so Mary cannot qualify for head of household because she does not pay the rent or the mortgage, the utilities, and the food. All right, Tom cannot claim the children as his dependents, and we'll get into that in the next video. However, Mary can. Okay, so when we get into the filing statuses, okay, it is very important that you qualify the person sitting across the desk from you and get it right. Okay, now if it's a single parent, they're going to want to file head of household. And as long as they pay, more than, half the cost of keeping up the home, and the children are generally biologically related to them, you're not going to have any problem. Okay. But where it gets sticky is when you have, again, like Tom and Mary, where they live together, and sometimes you're trying to determine, who is head of household and who isn't. All right. Okay. So in our next video, we will discuss the dependency exemption.